Are you in mortgage prison? Has the bank said no to refinancing, getting out of your current loan, and you feel like you're on too high of an interest rate? Well, I've got with me today Nevada, who's my broker. And Nevada, what is going on if we want to get out of mortgage prison? Break it down for us.
Yeah, so there's been some good new lenders and policies come to the market around this. So essentially, they have simplified refinance processes. So essentially what that means is you may have used a second tier or third tier lender to acquire or get into a property or whatever purpose at the time. And that's due to there was some circumstances around that, maybe some unique income or credit issue or something to that effect. There's now lenders and policies in place that will now specialize to move from one of those lenders to a much cheaper rate with reduced assessment criteria, as long as you've met your repayments for a 12-month period.
Amazing.
So that essentially means if you're on a higher rate and you're on a product under normal circumstances, you wouldn't be able to get to a tier 1 lender. There's really some unique policies around that. As long as you've made those repayments consistently for 12 months, you get rewarded for that. And there's sort of less scrutiny to move over.
So good. So I could have bought my first home, or I could have a home and no investments, and I could have pulled out some equity. I could have come to you guys. We pulled out some equity. My home, I bought it for 800. It's grown to $1 million. I pulled out maybe another 80 to 100K out of that because of my loan balance. And I'm like, great, I want to break into the market. I've gone with you guys to finance and buy a deal in Victoria. We bought a deal for $700,000. In the buyer's agency, we're doing deals at $600,000. So I bought now my investment, but it's with that second or third tier lender. And I feel like I'm tapped out. Now I have an out. Now I have the opportunity to come back to you after a year of nice, squeaky, clean repayments. And basically, I can look to get a better rate. And
the rates are really competitive, like mid 5s for your own occupied and higher 5s for investment. So
Don't tell me that.
They are taking into account that there's 12 months of consistent history, and that's a big factor in their assessment, meaning there's less buffers applied on income, there's less scrutiny around particular policies because they can see that, and you've proved that you're making the repayments. So it's a great thing to revisit. Like I had an example where we were living in a house we owned. We actually bought that particular property when we were 18, and we had our second kid on the way, and it was time for an upgrade. So we wanted to buy a larger family home and make that current property a rental. In that particular time, I was still earlier in business, so I didn't have long enough business financials.
You wanted 2 years to get the full doc lending.
Exactly. I knew the income was solid. I just couldn't show it, and the accountant hadn't prepared those financials yet. So we used an alt doc lender to secure the next property. So we ended up refinancing both properties, cashed out the deposit, secured that next property with the alt doc lender on a higher rate. And then within 6 months, because I had those business financials, I was able to then move back to a tier 1 lender at a cheaper rate. That's a particular example, but it would have been much easier now if this policy was in place. If I'd met that 12-month period, and even say there was still some other circumstance or income was still close, I still would have been able to move to that lower rate. So it's just helping people get out of, I guess, higher rate loans.
And this is something we do in the buyer's agency a lot. So I'm thinking of clients like David, who just bought his second deal with us, Jeff, Sam. There's so many clients that have now gone, because our business is getting up to the 5-year mark professionally, and we're now buying in Southeast Queensland and Melbourne. A lot of those clients have bought with us in Brisbane, and they've now bought it. They're extending their capacity, largely with you guys in most circumstances. They're buying a deal in Victoria, for example, at a higher interest rate with maybe a Liberty or a Pepper or an MA Money and so on. They're then paying, say, a 7.2% interest rate. But the thing I said to clients, and I said this to Daniel and Ari, so shout out to those clients, they're amazing. They just did their first deal with us, and they're really excited to grow a portfolio. The thing I said to Daniel and Ari last week was, once you get that deal, you may only have to consider in your cash flows the higher interest rate for 1 to 2 years. Now, I say to our clients 2 years because I don't want them to get, say their income drops off or nothing changes. But you're basically saying that at a year mark, you could potentially have that horizon to get out, which is really exciting.
And there's still an assessment, so there's no guarantees. But the reality is it doesn't cost anything to ask the question. And if you can come have a chat to a broker, us or any other decent broker will be aware of these policies, and have a half an hour sit down, and that can change your interest rate on multiple properties, a percent. That's a massive difference in outgoings and for you for the rest of the year.
That's right. It gives you that peace of mind knowing that, hey, we can get a lower rate. We're gonna have more buffers once we get this through. And the great thing for clients is it allows them to build a consistent portfolio plan. We're going to buy our first or second investment. The interest rate might be higher for a year. But then after a year, we're going to lower that rate from 7 to 5.9%. We're dropping 1.5% in rate. And then we can look to refinance equity in 6-12 months and start building a portfolio to buy the second investment. It's really exciting for clients to see those horizons at year 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, and everyone gets excited about the next acquisition, the next purchase, and that's obviously a big part of what you guys do. I'm stingy. I like things as cheap as possible. It's the same money. If it can cost you less, that's a win, I think, as well. So,
well, it kind of leads into the second half of what I wanted to talk about in this video, which was LVRs, interest rates, and liquidity. So as a buyer's agent and a property strategist, I have a different view from the mortgage brokers sometimes about how much liquidity I want. And I was chatting with Peter and Jade, who have done 2 deals and are looking to do their 3rd deal in Victoria. And they're clients of yours as well. And one of the exciting things is they were asking me specifically, okay, Luke, how do you calculate your cash flows? Like how much buffer do we need? Like if it's 30K, we're starting to get nervous. But at 50, we feel all right. How do I now, at a $12.5 million portfolio, how do I get comfortable with $7-8 million of debt, maybe $4-5 million of equity? How do I balance that with the cash flows? What I said to Peter and Jade was, it's about working with your broker on liquidity. So I'm talking to you about refinancing equity, and you can do that for clients as well. So you can go back to your broker, ask for an assessment on your borrowing capacity. Even if you're not going to buy a house tomorrow, you can pull money out, correct?
You can access equity in property for specific purposes. Banks generally want you to have a purpose for the funds.
For sure.
Plan, whether it's renovations. It doesn't need to be necessarily a good purpose. Like,
it doesn't need to directly be pulled straight away.
Could be buying a car. It could be, I've had people cash out funds to go buy a property in France. Like there's all sorts of, they just sort of want you to have a plan on the funds.
For the funds.
But absolutely, you can access equity for future planning, for renovations. And
it's all subject to your serviceability.
Correct. And let's just say that you're doing some minor renos on the place you live in. Before you actually go and get the quotes, you have a rough estimate of $100,000. And it turns out you're good at finding good providers, and you only spent $90,000.
Yes.
That $10,000 spare, it's
buffer.
Your money. You can chuck that in your offset facility and save on interest. You can use it. Whatever. It's absolutely.
There and available. And so for me and most of our clients, we are saying to the brokers and banks, we're using the funds for investment purposes, which is what you should be ideally using the debt for. You don't want to take out debt to buy a car or go on a holiday, because you want to keep tax deductibility. And so the unique strategy that I present as a property strategist and buyer's agent is to work with your broker to get more liquidity. So in Peter and Jade's example, I was saying to them, instead of maybe getting an 80% LVR, maybe your next purchase is at 88% LVR. You pay lender's mortgage insurance, so you pay another 12 or 15 grand fee, but it means you've got less cash in the deal and more money in your offset account, which means you have a bigger buffer for significant events, repayments, peace of mind. And they did their own maths, and they worked out if they went 80% LVR, so they put a 20% deposit down, they'd be left with about 30 grand. Whereas at an 88% LVR, they'd have like 70, 80 grand. So that's an extra 50, 60K of buffer.
And that's all personal comfort. Like everyone has a different number or a different emotional attachment, how much money they want to have to feel comfortable.
For sure.
I've literally had extreme examples of really high income earners. In this one particular instance, someone getting an $800,000 mortgage, and post settlement, they're going to have $700,000 cash.
Yeah, wow.
And they're like, oh, is this really risky? I'm like, in my opinion, not at all. That's way more cash buffer than I have.
700 grand just sitting in the
bank. So you could just pay it off pretty much tomorrow, and they were feeling a level of concern, but their risk profile is completely different.
For sure.
Other people are comfortable running it a lot closer regarding cash. It all depends on your income and future income and your expenses. There's a lot of factors that go into that. But the sleep test is really important.
Yeah, and I use the burn rate analogy. So they asked me, what do I do with my 12.5 mil portfolio? I said to them, it's my cash flow. So even on the size of my portfolio now, last year's tax return was about minus 60K. And I'm probably projected about the same again this year, because I'm doing so many secondary dwellings and developments at the moment until they're fully rented. Then I'll be neutrally geared, which is amazing. The size of the portfolio is amazing. So I said to those guys, Peter and Jade, I said, look, like I'm going to probably hold 2 years of cash flow is the dream number. Now, as a business owner and a pragmatic person who's buying lots of houses, it does ebb and flow.
Yeah.
It might dip down to 50 grand. You might have 300 grand. It goes ebbs and flows. But the general premise for me and my own risk profile and rules is 2 years of cash flow is kind of a nice number.
Yeah.
That's what I like to hold.
And what I say around, liquidity, value of properties, all this sort of stuff, good clients of mine, it's a fast moving target in the current market. So for every transaction that we do working together, we'll have 5 hypothetical conversations.
Yeah.
So I might be talking to you once a week about potential purchases that never actually go ahead, and then we'll pull the trigger on, you know, every thought. I have other good clients like Vincent, for example. We're having conversations maybe every second month. Peter and Jade, we've had a lot of conversations with. So it's a moving target, and it's something that you can revisit around what available options are, you know, pretty frequently, especially in the current market with the way things are moving, around what equity is available to fund another purchase, what potential rates are available if you have a particularly high interest rate product and we get to a cheaper one. It's worth, and we welcome in our business people initiating those conversations as frequently as they like to. Yeah. Because it's not something that doesn't take 2 years for there to be changes all the time. Sometimes it can be, not quite enough equity yet. Especially in the current market, you revisit it in 3 months, all of a sudden, cool, we got some surplus there all of a sudden.
That's right.
So have those conversations. Hypothetical conversations are fine. Yeah. And my view is if we can provide some clarity, people are making sort of firmer plans, and it allows them to make firmer plans rather than a hypothetical. Yeah. Maybe I wonder if we can borrow that plan. So
No, it's such a good point, because you should be speaking to your broker probably at least once a year. And ideally,
at the very least once a year.
And ideally 4 times a year.
Yeah.
I say to clients, don't badger them every day. But like the broking team that you're working with, I would say every quarter is a good guide. And one quarter, it might just be a 15-minute chat. Hey, this is our position. This is where we're at. Yeah. Okay, fine. But at 6 months, you might be, okay, we might be able to pull equity. And at 12-month mark, you might be ready to buy a deal. The bigger your portfolio is, the more you can chat to your broker, because there's more moving parts. There might be equity in one property where there's no equity in another. There might be a sale on one side where there's a new future purchase planned. Nevada and I spoke about a $1.8 million unit block not too long ago. And so to even look at that deal, I had to look at what I'm selling and what I buy and how I would structure it. And that deal hasn't come to fruition. But when the next one comes up, we've already had those chats. We've already built the rapport around the position, the finances, the structuring. And you're ready to hit the ground running rather than starting from square one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good. Well, if you want to book in a chat with Nevada and the guys at Cube Home Loans, there's a link in the description down below. You can also find it at purposeproperty.com.au. As well, at that website, you can book in with myself, a free 20-minute chat to buy either in Southeast Queensland or in Greater Melbourne, as low as $600,000 in the Victorian market if you're looking to buy a house. And in Brisbane, we're saying probably $750,000, $800K plus for the housing stock. So head over to purposeproperty.com.au for that, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.